Can't hear you, Bruce. Let's see here. You don't look muted, but for some reason I couldn't hear you. We'll come back to you. Hopefully the kink will work out. So then let's go with Liz, Tom, and Angelica.
Hi, Liz Hamilton, Prevention Department at Chestnut Health Systems. Most people know me for
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Sorry, I'm not sure who that is. Just gonna start muting some people. Okay, I'm sorry, Liz. Do you mind starting over?
Yeah, Liz Hamilton, work in the Prevention Department at Chestnut Health Systems. Most people in the community know me for my efforts with BN parents.
Thanks, Liz. And then Tom?
Yes, hi, my name is Thomas Brown. I'm a case manager with the Chestnut Family Health Center. And if I could Zoom call with anyone living or deceased right now, I'd probably say like Vincent Price, because Turner Classic Movies has been getting me through this thing.
Thanks, Tom. And then Angelica, Kristen, Manzi, and Amy.
Hi, my name is Angelica Adcock. I work at Chestnut Health Systems. I run the program for people going through their first episode of psychosis. And if I could Zoom with anyone, it'd probably be Post Malone because I'm in love with him.
Thank you.
I'll go. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I'm Kristen Manzi. My work speaker hates me, so I apologize for my technical difficulties. I am a drug court counselor at Chestnut, so sort of co-workers with Dan, dream team. If I could Zoom call with anybody, it would probably be Dolly Parton, because she is super positive all the time and she brings together all sorts of random groups of people, and I love her for it.
Thank you, Kristen. And then Amy, Michelle, and Chantel.
Sorry, I forgot it was my turn. Amy Hancock, the Behavioral Health Program Manager for McLean County Health Department. And I'm gonna go with a fictional character. If I could Zoom with anyone, it would be Dwight from The Office.
Nice. Hopefully he can figure out how to work it.
And I'm Michelle at the Bloomington Public Library. I'm the communication, community engagement person here at the library. And if I could Zoom call with anybody, I wouldn't Zoom call with anybody ever again. I would meet in person and shake your hand and be so glad to see your actual face. So that's me.
Thanks, Michelle. Chantel, Natasha, Jeremy.
Hi, I'm Chantel, the coordinated intake over at Children's Home and Aid. Well, mine will actually be a Zoom meeting because I'll be meeting with Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King. We all be in a meeting together.
Sounds like a good time for sure. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Natasha, and I work at the Center for Human Services as the Community Integrations Coordinator, dealing with the chronically and mentally ill adults. If I was able to Zoom call with anyone, I would probably choose Michael Jordan as well.
Right on.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeremy Studebaker. I am the Community Treatment Liaison for the Central Region here at Chestnut. And I'm listening to everybody talk about their Zoom calls. It's really, you have all the, like, these impactful and powerful people, and I'm just like, maybe Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China, one of my favorite movie characters. So that's probably who I'd go with. But now I feel bad because, like I said, everybody has these great people that they're meeting with, except for Amy, Dwight, but that's okay.
Thanks, Jeremy. And Marlon, Toy, and then Junior.
Marlon Chamberlain with the Safer Project, the Cipher Foundation, and I'm the project manager for the Alliance for Reentry. And if I could Zoom with someone, I would say my grandmother.
Excellent. Thank you, Marlon.
Hi, my name is Toy Beasley with TAS. It's Treatment Alternatives for Safer Communities. I'm the Recovery Support Coordinator, and I also help facilitate the Winter Circle program statewide. If I had an opportunity to have a Zoom call, I would say my mother. My mother passed away when I was 7 years old. So if I can get that opportunity to talk to her on a Zoom right now, it would be awesome.
Thanks, Toy.
Hi, my name is Junior, and I am in the recovery program. I got invited here by Dan, and if I can have a Zoom call with anybody, I'd have to go with my grandfather, who passed away when I was 12.
Thanks, Junior. And Deb, and then I see a phone number, 309-532. I'm thinking maybe that's Bill.
Okay, my name is Deb Skilrood with City of Bloomington Township. I'm a supervisor. And I'm catching on that if I could Zoom with anybody, it would be probably those who have passed on before. That's it.
Thanks, Deb.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you, Bill, the 1994 number? Okay. Emma, looks like you just joined. We're just doing quick introduction, your name, the agency you represent, or if you're a person with lived recovery, and then if you could Zoom with anybody, who would it be?
Hi, I'm Emma. I am with Bridgeway. And anyone I could Zoom with, that's a hard question. I don't know. Totally blanking.
Okay, no problem. Kind of puts you on the spot there. Anybody I missed? The pictures jumped around a little bit. Okay. And then if I didn't say, I'm Dan Sokolsky. I'm a recovery support specialist with Chestnut. And for me, it would definitely be Jerry Garcia. So, okay, so let's get into it. Appreciate everybody's patience with that. Before we jump into our guest speaker and some other ROSC updates, I want to give the floor to Nadia, and she has a potential job position that she wanted to discuss, I believe.
Yes, I'll make this very quick to be cognizant of everyone's time. The Central Prevention Office recently wrote for an expansion grant to provide additional services to Mason County and Logan County. And being that you guys are a great networking group, I thought I wanted to share this opportunity. I had spoke with Angie prior to this meeting. So in the meeting notes, there will be an item for the job posting description, but it would be a prevention specialist. And so some of the responsibilities would, well, this year is an exception, but it would be focused with prevention education classes, and then those would be in schools in Mason and Logan County. So when I say Logan County, it would be Lincoln, Mount Pulaski, Hartsburg, Emden, and then also in Mason County, which would be the Havana area, Mason City, and Manitou. If anybody you know that is looking for a position, it is required to have a bachelor's in a helping profession. And then outside of that, there's some facilitator skills, comfortable speaking in front of people, some other things in that nature. It is all provided in the job description. And along with that, I can provide my contact information if anybody has any further additional questions. You can reach out to me and I can maybe help guide, or if you know of somebody or anything like that. I just appreciate the networking opportunity. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Nadia. And I know you got to run, but if you have a moment, if you haven't already, maybe to put your email in the chat to everybody, if that way they have your information. Okay, so a couple of just kind of quick hitter updates, and then I want to give the rest of the time to our speaker. So I want to go through this quick. One thing to announce is we did create our YouTube channel with help from Angelica and Jeremy, and then Angie and I were also working on that. It's not actually populated yet, it's just created, but kind of living in the ether right now. But again, we want this to be a recovery repository that anybody can access to not only see trainings or webinars, but speaker testimonials, recovery panels. We're doing some spirituality 101 kind of quick hit videos where we have a local rabbi, an imam, and retired pastor speaking to respective faith systems, just to kind of emphasize not only spirituality and recovery, but different paths of spirituality. We're looking at book clubs, both from a kind of recreational standpoint and from spirituality. So some of that stuff we're gonna, just as much as we can, we still, we want to have some quality control, but we're looking for anything that you think would be, relevant to something like that. Maybe you have a passion about a certain recovery topic or societal issue, and you want to do a recording and speak to it. I think that this could be a real exciting opportunity to kind of make our imprint on the world, so to speak, and just build more awareness about the ROSC. So you can talk to myself, Angie, Angelica, Jeremy. They're kind of our advisors, and Angelica is our producer / director. So we're going to be filming this Friday, just Angie and I doing kind of like a ROSC overview as sort of like the first kickoff video, and then we hope to just keep building the content. So that's kind of a cool thing, but we're looking for your help to populate that. We just ordered 150 masks with the ROSC logo through Minerva, and those should be ready soon. The goal there, not only to just pass out the masks, to kind of get some branding in the area. We talked about creating some PPE kits that include like the masks, hand sanitizer, gloves, that kind of thing that we can hand out to delivery people, frontline people, just whomever. Some of that's kind of contingent on, ideally we'd like to have some kind of outreach event or coincide that with our recovery month picnic in September, our second annual one, but we just don't know what all that's going to look like right now with COVID, so just do the best we can. And then the ROSC work groups, we still have the sober living group active, the sober recreation, the spirituality work group, and the behavioral health. And Amy wisely suggested a new one, which would be basically recruitment and retention for ROSC members, just going out and looking at the gaps of who we don't have represented and who else we need. And then not only getting them to come, but also how do we keep people? We've had some turnover. We've had a good core group, which includes pretty much everybody on this call, but just, trying to keep good people so that we can get some great work done. Quick updates. I've asked Tom to give us a quick recap on what's going on with the sober recreation group.
Yeah. So Dan alluded to one update already. We're trying to get a book club up and running. Right now, we're just kicking around ideas of possible book titles. I've spoken with Michelle about that already, so thank you in advance, because I know I'm gonna bug the hell out of you later again. In Stone, we have a paint night scheduled for September 18th. There is an Eventbrite sign up. Dan, if you could send out the PDF, if you haven't already plastered that around everywhere. And then other to be announced official events, Chantal and I will be hosting a poetry night sometime in December. And then we were hoping to have another open mic night sort of event probably in September or October. If anyone has ideas of potential events, please shout them out, send them to me in the chat. We're trying to do one every month or so, it seems, but we're not that strict, so we'll work with what we got.
Thanks, Tom. And Amy, if you wouldn't mind giving us an update on the behavioral health group.
Yeah, sure. So our group subcommittee continues to meet on focusing, ending the stigma. And so we do have 2 webinars that are posted. I know they're on the health department website on behavioral health, and they're also on CHS website. And they will be part of the YouTube channel that Dan was talking about. So those first 2 webinars are on relationships. The first one is on intimate partner relationships, healthy and unhealthy, and then caregiver to child dynamic relationships. So those are completed, and we are working on 2 more webinars. And so the second webinar, or excuse me, so it'd be the 3rd and 4th webinars that we're working on. Will be, one of them will be from a perspective of a person in recovery, on relationships, on intimate, family, and social relationships. And so part of how we're gathering information on that PowerPoint or that webinar is through a survey. And so we've collected some response to individuals that are in recovery in that survey, and then we're going to use a lot of that as the content for that webinar. And then the other webinar that we're currently working on is the same format, the same kind of flow of the first one, but it's going to be from the perspective of an individual engaging with a person in recovery. And that one will still focus on family, intimate, and social relationships. But we're going to probably use more research in that one as far as putting that together. And then the last piece that we have started juggling around in our subcommittee is talking about with the YouTube channel and having some individuals that are in recovery share some of their personal stories and being able to share some of those personal stories on the YouTube channel to help in the stigma of having some type of, or in the stigma of being in recovery and the challenges that come from being in recovery.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions for either Tom or Amy? And then just real quick with the spirituality group, we're still seeking and looking for help. If anyone on this call might be able to get word out for our spirituality panel, we're looking in particular for people of non-Christian faiths who are in recovery that can kind of speak to on a panel to you know, their faith system and how that has played a big role in their recovery journey. Spirituality 101 sessions we talked about, book club, some other things in the hopper. And then for the sober living, we have helped successfully fill the House of Hope, the newish men's recovery home. And we're hopeful that there will be some funding coming from the state in the coming months that you know, we can bid for and potentially you know, do something to increase the capacity for sober living in the community. Second Oxford home for men, something along those lines. We're looking to connect with the Labyrinth House to get some ideas on, you know, what they've done to what they're doing, what they've done to, you know, create those type of environments for people. So hopefully some good stuff on the way there. And again, always looking for help, always looking if you have a little extra time. Most of these meetings are 1 hour every other week at this point. Some of them are weekly, but you know, they could all use, you know, some more brains, I guess, at the table and creative ideas. Okay, with that, Angie informed me last month she wasn't going to be able to be at this meeting today. And so I started kind of thinking about what I wanted to do with it, basically. And we've talked in the past about having speakers. We've talked a lot about, you know, speaker testimonials as part of the ROSC. And so I thought we'd try that out today, something a little different. And I tried recruiting a couple of different individuals, and, you know, one cancel because he doesn't do Zoom. Another had a procedure, and I was starting to get a little worried. And then Bobbi texted me about something else. Somebody had come into her church looking for information about recovery meetings, and we talked about how it was like a God moment. And then I thought to myself, duh, why haven't I thought of Bobbi, speaking of God moments? So she's a regular member of the Bridges meeting, which we're thankful for. My wife and I have been friends with Bobbi and her family for several years now, and she graciously accepted. So she's somebody I'm extremely grateful to have been a part of my own recovery journey, my wife's journey, and Al-Anon. So if you could all just help me welcome Bobbi Hassel.
Hi, thanks. I'm not used to being on a Zoom meeting where I don't, like I know one face out of the whole screen. And usually I am someone who is not afraid to talk, like I talk too much. But all of a sudden it was kind of like, ooh, I hope I prepared correctly for this. One of the people, I think it was Amy, was mentioning the group that she was, the subgroup that she was a part of as far as breaking the stigmas. And I thought, oh, this is like another one of those God moments. It's a lead-in. So my name is Bobbi Hassel, and you know, in Al-Anon meetings and AA meetings, it would just be Bobbi. I am a member of Al-Anon. I am actually on this call from work. I work out at St. Patrick Church of Myrna, where I coordinate the religious education for grades 1 through 5, and trying to navigate all of that because of, you know, the situation. So when she mentioned breaking the stigma, kind of helped me. I'm going to just read you the first couple lines from a person's resume. High school valedictorian, American University, Washington, D.C., Bachelor of Arts, magna cum laude, International Studies, Bachelor of Arts, magna cum laude, Philosophy, 2007. Columbia University, Master of Arts in Religion, and the thesis project was way over my head, Calvinism in the Modern Southern Baptist Convention, the role of religion in shaping civil society. That's my daughter's resume. My daughter, Chrissy, fought the battle with alcoholism. And this is the part that I knew was going to happen, but it'll be just short-lived. October 14th, 2019, we got a call from a detective in Boca Raton, Florida, where she was living, to inform us that she had been found dead in her apartment. The reason I give you that background is the stigmatism that Amy, you know, until being immersed in this journey with her, I definitely did not know anything about alcoholism, addiction, the road, how hard the road was, how many support systems that you need, how limited those support systems can be. And I am beyond grateful for, well, Dan and Jenny actually. You need networking. One of the other people on the call mentioned networking for a job interview. It appears that so much so in this world, you need networking. You need to know people. On July 15th, 2015, I got a call from my daughter's boyfriend. I was actually 5 minutes from O'Hare Airport at my mother's, and he was, I can't get her up, she's been sleeping, I can't do this anymore. And I literally dropped everything, drove all the way back to Bloomington, and was on a flight to New York City by 7 o'clock that night. That was the first time of my actual, like total involvement, immersion into what was going to be a 5-year journey. I was not a traveler. My younger daughter actually came with me because I was afraid to fly. We found her at 1 a.m, pretty much knocked out on a bed in an apartment. And I knew nothing about the disease of alcoholism at that point. I knew she struggled with anxiety and depression, and she'd been taking care of it off and on. I knew that she was a bartender in New York City. That's how she was making a living, because even with all those degrees, she couldn't find a job to do what she wanted to do. So I knew alcohol was involved, but not the extent of it. And I ended up networking. My brother, who lives in Mount Prospect, Illinois, worked in New York City, had an apartment that he used during the week in New York City. I could stay there. I could not have afforded to stay in a hotel. Networking. My sister does a lot of work with a lot of different groups in the city of Chicago. Called her. She started connecting me with people that knew people that knew people in the city of New York City to find a psychiatrist, to find all these resources that I needed. 14 days I stayed in New York City at my brother's apartment with my daughter, not knowing that every night that she was sleeping in the bed next to me, she was actually going through withdrawals. Not knowing. I had no idea the extent of this. After 14 days, she decided she couldn't do this anymore. She was going to literally come home and to Illinois and get treatment. My husband drove all the way out to New York City. We packed up all of her belongings. He was not in New York City 3 hours. Turned all the way around and drove home. Unfortunately, she was in major denial and a lot of relapses. From 2015, July 2015, until February of 2016, when she ended up in the ER at NYU Langone Center in intensive care with a stomach that was, or a liver that was, a stomach and liver that was extended to the size of probably 11 months pregnant, for any women who can imagine that. She was in the hospital in intensive care for 4 days, stayed in the hospital for a total of 2 weeks, at which time we knew it was alcoholism because of all the tests. She was still in complete denial. This was happening because she took too much Tylenol. This was happening because she was a bartender, and yes, she drank, but she was not an alcoholic. It took the medical documentation, that, you know, the scientific information, and a psychiatrist and an unbelievable team of doctors to convince her that there was this issue, that there was a really big issue that she needed to deal with, yet still no acceptance and very, very much denial. So back in when she came home, before that time in February, when she ended up in the intensive care, she came home a couple of times, you know, faked it, said she felt better, went back to New York City, came home, relapsed. We didn't know for sure that this is what we were dealing with, but this is one of the times where I first met Dan and Jenny. I went to the Connections meeting at Broman Hospital, and my other daughter just happened to work with Jenny, and the connection was like, wow. And Jenny connected me with Al-Anon. And I have to say that finding help, finding resources was a nightmare. And as a parent, you know, you try to do everything possible that you can to help your child. Chrissy would have been 35 years old May 20th of 2020. But I learned through Al-Anon that we were enabling her a lot without knowing it. And so through Al-Anon, through attending meetings, through meeting, Jenny met with me many times at a drop of a hat in the middle of a crisis, and going to connections meetings still at the hospital for people that were up in recovery at Broman at the time. I learned more. I started to go to open AA meetings. I tried to learn more. I could come to understand that it was a disease, that this was not my daughter. And I remember telling her, oh, I've lost count, but things would happen all the way along the way. And I would just tell her every single time I had the opportunity, there is nothing you can do to make me love you less. And I just repeated that, hoping that that was going to sink in and miracle was going to happen and she was going to stop drinking. But that's not how it works. And so through Al-Anon and learning, doing a lot of reading, I was able to start saying, no, I can't help you with that. However, because of the limited resources, I was kind of on an island of my own. I have a husband, but at that time, he didn't understand at all what she was going through. And so it caused a lot of tension there because I wanted one direction and he wanted another direction. Siblings, you know, they love their sister, but she's doing this. She should be able to stop it, not understanding. So a lot of tension there again. Some family members really good and a real good support system. But for me, you know, I could network, get help from them, talk things through. Finally, I went to a therapist, something at, let's see, 62, 57. I would have told you never in my wildest imagination, do I need a therapist? Lifesaver. So during all of this time, you know, we were trying to back off. We were trying not to help as much. We were trying not to give her money. We would pay for things off and on, still too much, but I knew I had learned don't give her the money. I would have to pay somebody directly. I made multiple trips to New York City. One time I made a trip to New York City. I never even left the airport. Another friend brought her to the airport with her belongings, and we got on a flight to Bloomington Normal. And now knowing she was literally drunk with me, you know, on an airplane coming back, trying to get help. So finally, I think I'm a little bit out of whack, but at one point she did end up at Chestnut. She came home and it was after being in the hospital for 2 weeks in New York City. And they said she needed a recovery program of some sort, inpatient. She agreed, got home. No, that's not what I need. So we negotiated and she interviewed at Chestnut and she did do the intensive outpatient program at Chestnut for 7 weeks. She was going to AA meetings. She was doing a lot of yoga and she knew how to walk the walk. She knew how to play the game. But she was doing pretty well. In hindsight, we realized that she was not sober that entire time, but she was a different person. She was starting to get healthy. She was starting to look better. I was still going to Al-Anon. Things were happening. Her dad was getting more involved, and he was the one getting the phone calls, and he was the one having to deal with things because I was learning from Al-Anon to step back, to not help as much. And long story short, I did a lot to try and help her. She did get help. She did do a 30-day treatment program in Texas. It was, you are either on the streets after being discharged from a hospital from a relapse, or you can go into treatment. And, you know, no, I just need to come home. I just need to go home. Nope. And that was one of the hardest ones. But we found I made the phone calls, doing a lot of the work again, trying to fix it. Found an all-women's program in Dallas, Texas. That's how I first became aware of Brene Brown. They used one of her books. And so I thought, okay, we're on the right track. Dual diagnosis, not just alcoholism. She needs a lot of help. So she did 30 days there. But again, extremely smart, very pretty, very personable, and knew how to work the system. And we went down and in a room, this is the part that always just blows my mind because I'm like, oh, this disease is just so awful. I'm in a room with a counselor, my husband, my daughter, and myself. And the counselor is telling us as her parents that she needs further treatment. She understands now that she has trauma. She needs to find a trauma therapist. She needs to probably go to a step down. But she thinks the best thing is to come home to Bloomington Normal, to be with family. And I was like, there's not a place in Dallas, Texas? Oh yes, I know a person very well trained in trauma therapy, and she could get in there, but she thinks the best thing is to go home and to be in Bloomington Normal. And so it was 1 against 3, and she came home. And I remember this vividly. Her whole mindset was yoga was going to get her better. She still was in a lot of denial. Alcohol was a problem, but she was not an alcoholic. And I remember this vividly because she was doing yoga classes. She did not have a driver's license. She just didn't. She lost it, never got it renewed. Thankfully, no problems, legal problems on that front. But I was taking her to yoga downtown Bloomington, and I came to pick her up. She was not out of 30-day program 3 days. I came to pick her up, and I'm waiting for her. And I look next door, and I see her literally at the bar throwing back a shot, and walked out and got in the car. And when I questioned her on it, oh no, it was just water. And that was when I knew that we were in really, really big trouble, and that we were going to have to make some really hard decisions. So luckily, there's the one good thing from the Dallas, it's called the Right Step in Dallas, Texas. That program was that we were able to find a trauma therapist that actually was in Bloomington Normal. I don't know if you're familiar with Karen Lee. She is fabulous. And so very long story short, 5 years. Chrissy ended up in treatment in the refuge in Florida for dual diagnosis. But there again, she convinced a very seasoned psychiatrist that yoga was the answer with sober living. And so she then was discharged from the refuge after about 60 days, so good, to a place in Connecticut where they got her a scholarship. It was close to where she wanted to do yoga. She didn't last 48 hours. She walked out with nothing but a cell phone and a suitcase. We did not help. We had learned, finally. We had learned. But she ended up, somebody from the refuge, an alumni, paid for a flight back to Dallas, Texas. And she ended up in sober living. Somebody from the refuge in Florida paid for a plane ticket back to Delray Beach area. She ended up in sober living, but in and out, in and out, in and out. And so the journey was 5 years. I will tell you that exhausting, and yet a lot of gratitude, meeting just a lot of wonderful people that work in different organizations, many of which, when I heard you say what you did, I probably would have run across one of you in a different city or a different state who would try to help facilitate things. Just grateful for all the people that I have met, and the growth that I have been able to manage. I will tell you that from Al-Anon, full disclosure, I rely on Al-Anon very much. I do highly recommend it to anybody. But full disclosure, I'm not really good at working the steps. I kind of have a sponsor. I have people that I lean on, that I know I can call. I am one of the fortunate ones. Actually, I think that I have a very, I had a strong faith foundation. I had a higher power, and but I learned how to lean on that higher power in a completely different level. So I bought into Al-Anon right away. I just could see the value that it had, the support system that it gives you, the reassurance that you are going through a very insane situation, but you are not alone, that there is hope, that you can make a lot of poor decisions yourself in trying to help your loved one, but that doesn't make you a bad person. That makes you a parent, and a parent who is struggling, and yet you learn. You learn how to try not to make those bad decisions. You learn how to encourage that person to try and do it on their own. You still sometimes send money via Venmo, or I've learned how to use all kinds of things I would have never thought I would use. Still paid for her health insurance, which I will tell you was a necessary thing. For as much as she was in the hospital, it was worth paying for that health insurance. But I would also tell you that it is a journey that is extremely difficult. And I can see where there are not as many resources available for people who are in recovery, whatever that recovery might be, alcoholism, addiction, mental health issues. And there's also not a lot of support or visible support for the families that are trying to navigate that journey. I think once you get into Al-Anon, you know then how to reach out to people and find other avenues that can help you do things. I think that I get the question very often, well, why are you still going to Al-Anon? It didn't work. Your daughter died. And I can tell them with 100% certainty that she died. She lost the struggle, but Al-Anon helped me. And that's what it's supposed to do. It allows me to come to work every day. It allows me to have great joy in my daughter. And as I've told people in Al-Anon, it still gives me hope, because it could have taken me down. I could have gone that same path. And because of Al-Anon, because of the support in a STEP program, the support that I have seen, oh my gosh, so many times, people within a recovery group give that same love and support to somebody who is struggling either with alcoholism, with addiction, with a combination. It is very hopeful. And also I think that the groups like your group here that is trying to figure out ways to educate people, provide resources for people in recovery, help those who are having success, help those who are not having success. I think that the more we can do that, the more you can do that, the more I can do that, the more we can break down the barrier that if you can be an alcoholic and you can be extremely smart. You can be an alcoholic and you can be extremely gifted. You can be an alcoholic and come from a very good family or a not so good family. You can be an addict and have tried and tried and tried, and you're still struggling. You're still a very good person. And we have such unfortunately, a stigmatism that goes with anybody who is struggling with alcoholism, addiction, mental health, that these people aren't worth enough. And I'm very grateful that I have seen that they are. I believe very much in AA. I believe very much in Chestnut, even though I want to say, as Chrissy got checked out of Chestnut, everybody said, oh, you're going to be so successful. Oh, you've got this. You're going to be so successful. And I just wanted to say, oh, she snowed you. But they did provide a very important step in her recovery journey. And without her being at Chestnut for that amount of time, never would we have learned, and never would I have gotten her to finally see that, yes, through therapy, through sharing her story at AA meeting stuff that yes, she really did need more help, more. Did she end up finding success? No. Did she have some good months? Yes. And thankfully, because of AA, the support groups, sober living houses, just everything, the whole network that you guys, all of you on this call, try to provide for other people. So I'm very grateful for meeting all of you and for knowing that there are a real lot of people in our community that are trying to help others who are struggling from either addiction, alcoholism, or mental health issues, or combinations of both, and their families. So Dan, I'm not sure if that's what you were expecting of me. Happy to answer any questions if you have any. My detailed timeline for only July 2015 to March of 2019 is 3 pages, single-spaced, 9-point type of how many times in and out and different organizations we worked with. So it is overwhelming, but because of Al-Anon, because of AA, therapists in the community, resources within the community, you can navigate it and you can come out the other side. Still a lot of sadness, you can't deny that, but also a lot of hope. So that's my share. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bobbi. I don't really know where to go or what to say next, but I mean, you definitely touched on a lot of the things we're trying to underscore here, whether it's the need for sober living or, the power of recovery programs, family recovery, the stigma. I love what you said about breaking down the barriers, and just how this can affect anybody. It's not a moral issue, it's an illness. Just in case anyone's not familiar, Al-Anon is a 12-step program for basically loved ones, family members, people with substance use disorder, alcohol use disorder. So they work essentially the same 12 steps that somebody in AA or NA would. And they have a really cool slogan that, my wife also being a member of Al-Anon, Jenny, who Bobbi alluded to, that the loved one, they didn't, when it comes to the disease, they didn't cause it, and they can't control it, and they won't be able to cure it, kind of the 3 C's. And I think that, that little mantra just speaks huge volumes for anyone who may have a loved one, and I remember when I was going through it, and my parents just always wanting that, constantly asking, what did we do? What was it, that caused this, that it was their fault, and I couldn't come up with anything. Does anybody have any questions for Bobbi, comments? Just anything you'd want to share?
Is there a resource of a list of local Al-Anon meetings?
Yeah, it's we are District 10, Al-Anon District 10, and it lists all of them. And just like AA right now, most of them are in the Zoom format.
Thank you.
And there are different ones, just like AA meetings, Al-Anon meetings. Each one kind of has its own feel. The one that I am a part of, that I like, it is my lifeline. It's a very big meeting at St. Matt's, but it's very diverse, which is really nice. There's a lot more men in it. Some of the smaller meetings tend to be all women, so then men feel kind of like outnumbered. But and then there are some that would work on just like a certain step, and then there are ones that are for children of alcoholics. So there's some versions of Al-Anon, just like there are NA meetings and CA meetings, so there's some of those too. But Bloomington is District 10, so you just Google Al-Anon District 10, Illinois.
Found it. Thank you.
Bobbi, thank you so much for sharing your story. Being with BN parents, trying to support parents is one of our primary goals. And we have just started, we received a small amount of funding to encourage drug disposal in the community. And we have kind of pocketed who we're directing these kits to. And one of the populations is family members and caregivers who have a loved one that's in recovery. And as we started going out and looking for what are the resources, what's existing that we could pull from, and we're finding exactly what you said, is that it's so limited. And my hope is that, you know, just starting with the conversation and advancing things at Chestnut Health Systems, that we can do more to fill that gap. Because it's, I mean, it's not just Chestnuts, it's at a national level. You know, there are so many federal resources that are out there, and it just, you're right. And I apologize, you know, just that there's a gap in the field. And it's so important that we support loved ones and that we help provide tools to help you manage, and your loved ones are better off too. You know, you're better off and your loved ones. But I just thank you very much.
Dan, do you mind if I make just a quick comment?
Sure.
I am also with Chestnut Health Systems, but I am in our southern region in Madison and St. Clair County, and we have a ROSC Council down there as well. I was super late today because we were having a staff meeting, so I apologize, but I missed the tail end of your, heard the tail end of your presentation, Bobbi, and I applaud you for sharing your story. That's super powerful. One of the things that I did want to share is that our Metro East Recovery Council down here in Madison and St. Clair County is kicking off a family support network in September. And we are, along with another agency, a recovery community organization, we are going to be providing a phone network for families to call if they just need some basic supports. So if they're just seeing a number and they're saying, I'm not even sure what my problem is, or they're calling and saying, I want you to fix my kid, right? Or I want you to do whatever, that very first contact. And we are gathering some volunteers who have been in their shoes, who have that lived experience, and then some packets of information. So we're compiling information on Al-Anon and Nar-Anon and NAMI and any organization that we can think of, some treatment organizations, some just anything and everything we can think of. And we're going to have those packets available to send out to people, but we're also going to have a list of family members who are willing to just have a quick chat, not to give advice, but to give support. So, you know, those folks are being trained. We're going through a whole big training process. So if that is something that this ROSC group is interested in, I would invite someone, a representative, to sit in on one of our small committee meetings, and we could sort of get you up to speed to how we are starting the whole thing and how it's going to work for us. So just a thought.
That's great, Donna. Thank you. I think we'd definitely love to hear more about that. We talked about like a warm line or something, and I know just my own experience when I used to volunteer at our intergroup office here in town, and do like the AA hotline. Would get a lot of, those were probably the most powerful experiences I had down there, and it was more family members than it was people actually, you know, suffering in the disease, because you know, they're the ones that were most eager to reach out, and just having those conversations, 30, 45 minutes, an hour sometimes, you know, And like you said, you don't have the advice or the answers that they want to hear, but just somebody to talk to and just give them that little ray of hope was huge. So yeah, I would love to be a part of that. Myself, I'd be willing to volunteer if there's anybody else who's interested in hopping on any of those calls. Either let me know or put your email in the chat or something, or speak up.
Yeah, I'd be happy to share that information with you, Dan. And I do want to mention, I mean, we're planning, and it's taken a long time. We've been planning this for probably 3 or 4 months now, so that we make sure that we get a good plan in place. And there's going to be a lot of training. So there's training on confidentiality, and there's a script that they're going to follow, sort of, you know, so that everybody's protected, and that we're just really providing some good supports for people who are feeling like they're on a roller coaster, and maybe just have somebody give them a bit of pause and a bit of support, and who's been in their same shoes. So that's the hope.
Wonderful. Thank you, Donna. I think roller coaster describes it best. When I just hear that story, think about my own experience, my sister, who we didn't even consider the fact, you know, back in 2004 that she was had alcohol use disorder, but looking back, it's pretty clear, and she passed from pancreatitis complications. But you know, 2 years in and out of the hospitals, looking good and healthy for a little while, and then at the end, after she passes, there's 10 bottles of empty vodka in her closet, you know, and then suddenly everything becomes pretty clear. So we are at our closing time. Bobbi, just thank you again. A lot of inspiration, a lot of strength, a lot of sadness, but that's also the reality of what we're dealing with. You know, and we need to hear that to remember the seriousness of this and the urgency of it. So if anybody has any other questions or information that they want to pass along, please just email me. Getting some echo here. And I think we'll just wrap it up. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I did record this, not saying I'm going to broadcast it anywhere, but you know, I'll talk to Bobbi how she feels about that. But if there's other council members who maybe weren't able to make it today and want to catch up, you know, that's something that we'll have handy. So also the service opportunity reminders. I know we have a couple people here with lived experience, a couple who are in their first months of recovery. We'd love to have you on some of the work groups, the sober recreation, the spirituality, whatever it might be. And if you have clients who you think might be good fits for it, please let them know. Uh-oh, my screen just went dead. Okay, so that's it for me. Thank you, everybody. We're done. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Bobbi.
Thanks, Junior.
Thanks, Bobbi.
Thanks for coming, Liam.
Oh, my pleasure.